Ever since the Ateca was first launched in 2016, it's been one of the very best cars in its class. Say it was relatively late to the SUV market when it launched the Ateca. It was well priced and spacious, but it was the fact that it was surprisingly fun to drive that really separated it from its rivals at the time. And it remains a thoroughly recommendable package, even with the competition now more fierce and varied than it was just a few years ago. So to freshen it up, it's had a facelift, which is mostly cosmetic. There are now front and rear bumpers, and there's a slight increase in the length of the car by 18mm. More noticeable is the new grille and reshaped lights. There's also full LED rear lights, and you get dynamic indicators on the F4 and Experience trims, and for the first time on the Ateca, you get the handwritten badge, which is the same style as we've seen on the new Seat Leon in Seat's lineup. Additions include a new steering wheel, new seat materials, and the look on the centre console and dashboard is quite different because you've got a matte silver finish outlining the dash rather than the more shiny, slightly tacky looking silver in the old Ateca. There's also a new design for the doors with some new stitching, and on the SC technology and above you can now get multicoloured ambient interior lighting. The other changes are more focused on the tech on the inside of the Ateca. The higher trim levels get a 10.25-inch digital driver display. It's got some configurability, so you can decide which layout you prefer. The infotainment interface has been updated, and it looks slightly snazzier than before. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto, both of which come as standard on everything. Plus, Seat has updated its voice control system to help it better recognise natural speech when controlling functions within the infotainment system. It's got a rather decent interior and is certainly up there with the VW Tiguan and Skoda's Karoq. If you wanted a much plusher interior in your family SUV, then you'd have to spend quite a bit more money to get that on something like a Volvo XC40 or perhaps a Range Rover Evoque. There are now 4 USB-C ports as standard, including 2 in the rear, and you'll be perfectly comfortable while your iPhone charges because there's plenty of room in the back for passengers. There's also loads of legroom to stretch out in as well, and it's quite a broad interior, so you should be able to fit 3 adults side by side easier than you can in some rivals. The Ateca has always stood out from the crowd on the road. In general, tall SUVs don't handle as well as equivalent hatchbacks, but the Ateca is surprisingly good fun to drive. It's agile, it's got precise, well-weighted steering, and actually gives you quite a good sense of connection. Even with the same platform, the VW group have managed to give them all quite different characteristics, and the Ateca is definitely the sportier one. There has been a slight tweak to the engine lineup for this facelift, but it's nothing major. So the entry-level petrol and the entry-level diesel now have slightly better claimed fuel economy and performance than before. In this 2-litre TDI 150, it's a strong and impressive diesel engine with very good fuel economy as well. But it's not expected to be the biggest seller in the lineup, of course, because of the massive downturn in diesel sales. So most people are going to go for the petrols, and if you do, you'll be impressed by the choice on offer. Seat Ateca pricing is competitive in the family SUV class, with the Ateca range starting from around €32,500. But when you compare it like for like with the models of the Skoda Karoq, then the Skoda is a little cheaper. There are a number of trim levels to choose from, and really even the entry-level SE is great value for money, but we'd look at the F4. It gives a sportier look inside and out, as well as gaining automatic lights and wipers and the bigger infotainment screen. Choose your trim carefully though, because you won't find much on the options list beyond metallic paint. If you're more interested in performance than fuel economy, then check out the Cooper version. And if you need more space, then you might be interested in the slightly bigger seat-ateca. The voice control system works very well. All versions come with automatic emergency braking and plenty of other electronic safety wizardry. However, lane keeping assist and blind spot monitoring are available only on experienced versions and above. There's also side assist, which can stop you steering into a lane occupied by another car, and exit assist, which keeps an eye out behind your car while you're reversing out of a parking space. The Ateca is a mid-sized crossover, and proportionally, it shares the same wheelbase with the Leon, but it is taller. This tall body means there's plenty of headroom. The driver's seat has a lot of adjustment, and up front the door bins are a good size. The materials used across the top of the dash are soft and high quality. Look lower down on the centre console and the doors and you'll find a few hard and scratchy plastics. It's not a deal breaker though, especially given the price. Seat no longer offers the Ateca in a basic trim, so the new entry-level SE version isn't too bad a place to start. Alloys, an 8-inch colour touchscreen, dual-zone climate control, Bluetooth, cruise control and park assist. There's a self-parking function which includes front and rear parking sensors too. Seat's full-link smartphone connectivity system, which is compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and MirrorLink is also available at no extra cost. The windows are quite big, so they let a lot of light in, and it generally does feel quite spacious in the back. You've got a ski hatch, which obviously lets you into the boot, and you've got ISOFIX settings as well, but in the Tiguan you can slide and recline the rear seats. The seats don't fold completely flat, which isn't a big issue, but they're at a slight angle. There's a nice big square practical space, and it's also quite deep, which makes fitting carry-on size suitcases into the boot of the Ateca a doddle. The Seat Ateca has a nice practical interior. It's very solid and it's better to drive than every other rival. The facelift really hasn't changed that much, so it does remain the case that the Skoda Karoq is a slightly more comfortable overall package. The Ateca is a thoroughly recommendable family SUV.